But yeah, for the next presentation, it's going to be from Marco Severi. He's head of sales at Kiln. Kiln is one of the leading technology providers when it comes to institutional staking. And yeah, I guess the stage is all yours, Marco.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me. Yeah, hello everyone. Marco, head of sales for EMEA at Kiln. Been with Kiln for the last 3 years. Previously, that was one of the people responsible for the growth for the European market at Chainalysis between 2020 and 2023. And yeah, very happy to be here. I'm gonna talk about Kiln, but like more specifically, the work we've done with ETP providers and how staking is essentially works inside an ETP structure. So just to give you first like a brief overview of what of our agenda, but like also the company. So there will be a staking overview, a case study, briefly talking about VanEck, who's one of our ETP customers for their stake Sol ETP, and also like regarding other protocols like Ethereum, how would that work? Just to give you a brief overview of Kiln. Kiln is, I would say, the top staking provider in the world with more than 13 billion assets under stake at the moment. We have between 4.5 and 5% of Ethereum staking network. So majority of, I would say, the Ethereum, but like also other protocols are staked with Kiln. So what we do is provide validators to our customers. Some of our customers can be seen in the slides. So from the big names like Bitpanda, Binance US, CoinShares, VanEck, Swissborg, but also working closely with custody solution like Fireblocks and others that we partner up with in order to offer our solution. Let me see if I can. Cool, perfect. So just to give you also like an overview, what is staking? So in crypto, there are like many different type of, I would say, risk, and that are linked to where you're actually holding your crypto, but like also what you do with it. So you have the base layer with cold storage or like I would say wallet, where essentially funds are not really doing much. You're just holding your funds in there. But then the second layer of that would be to actually stake those funds. So staking is essentially, it can be seen as the closest thing to a risk-free rate in the blockchain world. So essentially what happens is that users and customers that have funds, they lock their tokens in the blockchains in order to get back rewards, and in doing so, essentially they are securing the network themselves. So it's different from the proof of work. That's how Bitcoin works, but for all the other networks out there, majority of them, they have what is called the proof of stake or delegated proof of stake. So how staking works, as I said, you lock your tokens, you secure the chain, and in returns from doing so and lock your tokens in the blockchain, you get rewards in native tokens of the blockchain. So that's why essentially it's called like the risk-free rate of the blockchain networks, because essentially the only risk that you have is the risk of the blockchain. If you take away, of course, the pricing risk, but like if you think in crypto term, that's pretty much the only risk you have. So what does it mean like working with Kiln? So we abstract away all that complexity of managing validators yourself and like making sure you don't get slashed and everything else in the blockchain world. And so we offer different type of solutions. I'm not gonna talk too much about it, but like just so you know, like the main thing we do is Kiln validators. So we have validators many different blockchains, and so our customers essentially are able to lock their token and stake their tokens with our validators, and for doing so, they get rewards back. If we think about VanEck, but like if you think about the ETP world, essentially the ETP is just like a structure, like it's a financial product that allows people to invest in crypto without actually doing self-custody themselves or like without trading themselves in crypto exchanges, right? So the main idea of an ETP is giving the exposure to the end user to the price movement of the crypto. What happens though if this crypto has an inflation, or like if you're not covered for that inflation? So in order to be covered for that inflation, the best way to do this is essentially stake those tokens that are going to earn rewards. And so it comes kind of naturally for these ETP providers to also stake part of the ETP they offer to their users. So in this way, the ETP provider first is more competitive compared to anything else out there. But like the second thing is also like they're able to give their users an interest on the crypto that are present in the ETPs. So that's the case, for example, for a few different ETPs in Europe. That's not still the case for ETFs in the US. For example, we have Ethereum ETFs. Those are not stakeable yet. Might be possible this year or like next year. We will see what the American administration will say. But what are the main challenges here? So there are like a few different challenges that the ETP issuers are facing. So the first thing is there are some different regulations out there. And so doing things with Kiln, we essentially we allow you to take away all of that, and you just outsource instead of doing it in-house. You just use our validator, and we make sure that everything that happens on the regulation side is taken care of. The second thing is that it requires a lot of the infrastructure, technical expertise, but like also a lot of the monitoring of the validators. Because running a validator is not only like turning on a machine, but like you need to have a lot of different things in place in order not to get slashed, which means like losing potentially part of those funds. That's specifically for Ethereum. But when it comes to other blockchains, like you need to make sure that whatever happens, you're like able to essentially have your machine on and like still earn your rewards and tune those machines in a way that you can provide the best rewards to your end customers. So that's what we do, and that's why like we've been very successful in doing so. And at the same times, you need to secure it, right? So like there are potential risks on running this infrastructure. So what we do is secure as well all of this. So as I said, we have a legal team that allows, essentially allows us to operate in like with all our customers. We also have this solution that we offer our customer through dashboard, like through also API, that is really like a turnkey solution. So it's really like plug and play. You just need your custody solution, and then once you have your custody solution, you will be able to essentially start staking on our validators, that being like Solana or Ethereum or any other protocol out there. So the other thing that I wanted to mention here is that what happens to like the most important thing for an ETP is obviously like the liquidity, right? So there are things that can be done for like liquidity management when it comes to the ETP side. It's not something we do specifically at Kiln because, of course, as I said, we offer staking. But just to give you, I would say, and more insights in how the ETP works is that if you think about an ETP that has like 100 million, for example, in a dollar assets under management in Solana, depending on the different protocols out there, when it comes to staking, those tokens are locked for a certain period of time. So being an ETP, you need to make sure that you have enough liquidity to get in and out in case like there is redemption from your customers, right? So what happens is that in Solana, usually if you stake your tokens, you have 2 days that those tokens are locked, and if you wanna take away those tokens from staking, you need to wait a couple of days. So here comes the liquidity management, and there are like 2 ways that you can do it. Is like either just staking part of the ETP. So some providers out there, they just take like 50, 60, 70% of the ETP, and they keep the other part like as liquidity in case they need to manage redemption. But other, they just partner up with market makers in order to make sure that they have enough liquidity to get out. So it really depends on who the ETP issuer is and how they want to manage this liquidity. But at Kiln, what we want to make sure we do is that when you stake with us, everything is secure, we are reliable, we have the best performance, as you can see here in Solana. And the other most important thing is that whenever one of our customers wants to unstake, they will be able to unstake. It's just like in terms of the blockchain networks and how it works, that it might change a little bit more, like the time it takes to get back your tokens from the blockchain itself. So we don't actually overcomplicate the structure there. We just allow our customer to stake directly on chain and to make sure that they have the best offering possible and the best performance possible. At the same time, another topic which is very important for like these ETP issuers is like making sure they can monitor. And so whenever they want to monitor their rewards and their stakes, we have an API, which is our Kiln reporting API, where they can monitor in real time whatever is happening with their stake and also the rewards they're getting. So this is really important because, of course, at the end of the day, an ETP issuer and also like the custodian of this ETP needs to reconcile the position at the end of every day. So they need to make sure they have enough data in order to then provide that to the market. One last topic that I wanted to make sure everyone is aware here is like we talked about Solana, but there's of course also Ethereum. So there are like big upgrades happening on Ethereum. They are coming soon. One is called Spectra. So right now, just so you know, on Ethereum, you have the ability to stake 32 Ethereum and multiples of 32 Ethereum. What happens with Spectra upgrade is that you'll be able to essentially stake between 32 and 2048 Ethereum. So this means that there will be more capital efficiency, and also there will be a compounding effect that can boost 1.5% of the APY annually. So this is pretty important. I know some people in the audience might be interested in this. So in case you have questions, like just shoot those in the chat, and I can essentially answer to those. But just so you know, outside of Solana, that I think is like the easiest case, because like it's very easy to stake and unstake. The main challenge with Ethereum is that being 32 multiples of 32 that you can stake, it creates potentially some barrier to entry when it comes to liquidity. But that is most probably going away because with this new Spectra upgrade, you'll be able to stake more than 32 per validator, but also you'll be able to partially unstake per each validator, allowing people just to unstake and restake whenever they need liquidity for the ETP. Yeah, so this is pretty much it. In case you have any questions on this, just either shoot me an email or a message on Telegram, or I'm really open to any question that you might have in the chat.
Thank you very much, Marco. There are two questions in the chat. The first one is, what's your take on Bitcoin staking? Is it just a narrative or will it take off at some point?
Okay, well, I don't have a take. I think as a company, we are going to be live on Bitcoin staking. And Bitcoin staking is a very broad term for like many different protocols are there. Like I think the most famous one is Babylon staking, that it will allow native yield on Bitcoin. So essentially, similar to Ethereum and Solana, what will happen is that people that have Bitcoin will be able to lock their Bitcoin potentially in a smart contract and get yield back from that. That is currently live on Babylon, although there isn't yet a yield. It's more a point that the user are receiving, but yield is coming. So I think it's not just a narrative, because I think there is like a lot of institutions out there that are trying to get a yield on top of their Bitcoin. But the main question there is, will the yield be enough for people to just decide to do this staking, right? So I think on Ethereum, we're seeing 3.5, 3.7% APY. On Solana, that really depends. Sometimes it really like as high as 13%. I think for Bitcoin, people will be even happy with like 2%, 1.5, because everyone would just want to hold it, just want to hold Bitcoin and just get a yield on top of it. Is it a narrative? It could be. I think it really depends how the yield will be generated, right? So if Babylon will be used and like a lot of that Bitcoin will be used for securing other projects on chain that actually provide yield, provide fees. Those fees will then be sent back to all the people that are locking their Bitcoin.
And I guess it's also a question of smart contract security and maturity. If it's worthwhile, like taking the risk for some extra 2, 3, 4% yields, right?
Yeah, I would say like so far we're seeing a lot of traction there from like retail. I think from institutions that is gonna come at some point. But yeah, there's a smart contract risk. I think if the smart contract works fine, there isn't much risk there. So I understand why people are looking for additional yield on the Bitcoin. In the end, it's like a 1.5, like almost $2 trillion at this point, like a little bit less, but
yeah,
there's a lot of funds at stake.
Okay, now maybe leaving the degen corner and going more into the, I think it's a rather TradFi question from Gernot. He's asking if securing also means that you include some insurance against the risk, like from slashing.
Yeah, so as a company, we have slashing insurance. I think that we have the biggest insurance out there. But I think like what needs to be really understood from the audience is that even though you have an insurance, you need to make sure that as a company, you have an infrastructure that is reliable. So you actually plan everything ahead of being even slashed, right? Like if you plan your infrastructure in a way, you're never going to get slashed. So what we've done at Kiln is like a model that is very similar to how airline works. So like if for like the 4 cheese model, I would say 4 slices cheese model, essentially, that whenever there could be like penetration of one layer, there is like a second layer that actually protects for everything. So we've implemented that, and so far we never got slashed. But I think being an enterprise grade solution and company, like for our customers, we need to have an insurance. So we also have an insurance that covers any slashing.